discussion, to improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often. From early assembly lines to cutting-edge robotic systems, the continually evolving supply chain technologies are shaping the present and the future. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I, Harsh.
And I, Tejasvi, would like to extend a warm welcome to all and sundry to Ashwamedh 2022, the flagship event of X Ops, the Operations Committee of Xavier Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar. Ashwamedh is a unique industry-focused business conclave which brings together eminent personalities from diverse range of backgrounds to stimulate discussions on contemporary issues related to operations and supply chain management.
The landscape of supply chain management continues to evolve, ultimately allowing suppliers to operate more effectively and efficiently across the board. In some ways, the improvements made are in the response to the recent development in supply chain. Organizations are working to make improvement in anticipation of future events and the world of commerce in general. To align to the same thinking and the viewpoint, this year we would like our eminent speakers to impart their views on the theme agility, vision, resilience in modern supply chain business and share their thoughts and experience with same. We, on the behalf of whole Exam University, are honored to have our esteemed panel of speakers and delighted to have a faculty member, media partner, fellow students present with us today.
Now, I would like to introduce our first speaker for the event, Reena Events, Director of Operations, Swiggy. Reena ma'am has over 15 years of experience in working supply chain and catalog for top global e-commerce companies. She currently handles the central operations and strategy for the supply chain operations in Swiggy's restaurant vertical and hyperlocal stores. She has worked with companies like Flipkart, Lazada, Bilka.com and HSBC before joining Swiggy. In addition, ma'am has demonstrated ability in setting up and managing catalog operations, establishing world-class teams and managing people, operations and performance. Ma'am, we welcome you to the event.
Our second guest is Partha Roy, co-founder Azipro Systems Private Limited. He is a commercial management and supply chain practitioner. Sir has more than 30 years of work experience in supply chain management. He is the founder of Risk Consulting, which deals with the business consulting and advising on the fundamentals of supply chain practices. He is also the co-founder and COO of Azipro Systems Private Limited, which is a technology, sales and advisory firm. Prior to this, he worked in Airtel as a principal supply chain officer and vice president, where he headed the pan-India supply chain management and also handled the supply chain operations of all the SBUs. Sir has a deep expertise in field of activity outsourcing, cost exposure management, contracting and governance, commercial modeling, partnership relationship framework, SCM, process transformation. So,
Third speaker for the event is Pravad Kayarkar, MD and CEO of ADR Consultancy and Projects. Sir has close to 2 decades of corporate experience in high-level team building and business strategy development. She is also working as a skill development training partner for the Ministry of Rural Development India. He is currently the Managing Director and CEO of ADR Consultancy and Projects. Before working in ADR Consultancy, he worked extensively in Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance in managing business development. Apart from his corporate experience, he has also been an active part of various rural development works under Youth Association for Rural Development from 2007 to 11 and is continuing to do so through National Youth Forum since 2018. Sir, we welcome you to the event.
So the last speaker for the event is Jaya Krishna Das, Managing Director, Odisha Bridge and Construction Corporation Limited. He is an alum of NIT Rourkela, where Sir graduated in civil engineering in 1982. From 1983, working different organizations of Odisha government with experience in diverse fields such as water resource, national highways, road and buildings, Panchayat Raj and tourism also. He has also developed a knack for turning slow-moving state government organization into dynamic and vibrant states with the leadership qualities. PMU of our department and Odisha Bridge and Construction Corporations all have changed their days from slumbers to the height of glory. His services as FD has been extended for 3 years to implement government's flagship projects such as Sri Mandir Parikrama, redevelopment of SCB, Heritage Development of Konark, and many more. Sir will be joining us soon.
Now, I would like to introduce our moderator for the day, our esteemed Professor Arun Kumar Paul of Operations Management and Decision Sciences domain of XIMD. He is currently the coordinator for Management Development Program and also for Student Affairs and Disciplinary Committee of XIMD. Professor Paul has over 26 years of industry experience from starting his career as a design engineer and moving up to the level of project manager in capital projects for the Tata Group. He has extensively worked with experts from McKinsey & Co. on improving OPEX and CAPEX excellence. Professor Paul has published several chapters in edited volumes, research papers in highly referred and high impact factor journals such as International Conference on Digital Economy, Green Initiative for Business Sustainability and Value Creation, Critical Chain Project Management, and many more. Sir, we request you to come and take this event ahead.
Thank you, X Ops members and esteemed speakers on the dais. We are expecting Mr. J to join a little later. Esteemed faculty colleagues, staff, and my dear students. Very good morning and welcome to the morning session. Well, before I start my moderation, DPS moderation, I will give some historical background. Maybe it will be useful for all of us. This institute that you see here has in some way beginning way back in 1949, and I'll tell you why. 1949, just after independence, a set of Jesuits started a business school, XLRI Jamshedpur. That was the first B school in India, independent India, and of course it was a private B school. The government ones came much later. Around 1984, I will not name that IIM, that was supposed to be in Odisha. For some reason, typically political push and pull, Odisha didn't get it. It went to some other more powerful state, 1984. So that time, the Chief Minister of Odisha, kind of to compensate the loss, he contacted XLRI Jamshedpur, the fathers there, son of Jesus, and requested them to kind of create a copy of XLRI in Odisha. And on a kind of a very rapid pace, the location was decided, the it was allowed to start, and then that time XIMD started, 1987. There is sort of management, Bhubaneswar, it started in this location. In 2013, we become university, private state university. And then we also grew geographically. So earlier, XIMD, of course, it was a diploma programs. We had business management programs, HRM, that is human resource management program, and rural management program. That was a very unique program. And even today, not many B schools have that kind of program. There are agribusiness programs, but very chosen few have those rural management program that we started long back. So 2013, when we become an university, private state university, we also grew geographically. So this location, the old location that we have here, and we also have a new location now, about 22 kilometers from here, in a place called Jatni. And that is about 3 times the size now. It was double, we got more land, and it's about 3 times the size that we have here. And we have many centers and schools, and now our plethora of programs is from undergraduate to PhD through various other engineering and other programs. So that's the kind of historical development we have. So 35 XIMD that you see actually can be then extended to 1949. Eventually we started at 1987. Now coming to this campus, we have primarily business management program, which is a 2-year flagship program. That is about 6 trimesters. First year, 3 trimesters, and then they break for summer internship, about 8 to 10 weeks, and they come back for the second year, another 3 trimesters. First year, 3 trimesters is all core courses. So most of the audience here would be about first year students. There is second term, so they have completed their first term and into the second term. And first 3 terms, that is the first year, all core courses, which is any business manager would have to have that knowledge. A little bit of finance, little bit of marketing, little bit of operations, all that is core, compulsory. Everybody has to do that. And after the internship, they come back for the second year, term 4, 5, and 6, which is electives. And there are a whole set of electives that are offered to them. Students, based on their interest, based on their understanding, based on their liking, they choose set of electives to complete a certain requirement, 105 credits or something like that. So that's the kind of program structure we have. As far as supply chain management is concerned, it is offered as an elective from operations management and decision sciences area, and that is currently going on. So second year student in the term 5 have about 3, 4, 5 classes on the elective. But primarily we have first year students who would have very basic knowledge, so to say, about operations management. That's the core course they have started. We have about, more than 15 student managed committees. That's the kind of advantage of a residential B school, that it's not only the theoretical learning in the classroom, the students have their own committees completely managed by them, so that they hone their skill and the knowledge and other issues beyond the classroom. So our committees are divided into 3 categories. One is something like core committee. For example, career advisory services, which is placement and related, is a core committee. Sportscom core committee, hello? Okay, alumni committee is a core committee, right? So there are a set of core committees, 4 or 5 of them, which is core sort of activities. And then you have functional committees. For example, each business function like finance has their own committee, operations management their own committee, that is X Ops, right? So those are functional committees. And then you have interest committees, like photography, so there's a committee for it, literature, lit stocks and a committee for it, debate. So there are a set of committees, and students actively take part on those based on their interest. So this event has kind of 2 implications. One is Business Excellence Summit. That's a 3-day event as part of our academic plan. We plan it for every year. And unfortunately last year it was on online mode, but this year we have come back to a face-to-face mode. So these 3 days we have a set of events happening. About 25 odd speakers will be speaking on various subjects. And today's first half is about X Ops, which is the Operations Management Society. And they also have a flagship event called Ashwamedh. So today's event that we are sort of assembled here is that Ashwamedh, the flagship event of the functional committee X Ops. Now these committees are managed by students completely, except there are faculty coordination and little bit of intervention that happens need-based. Coming back to the theme of the BES this year, that is Business Excellence Summit, it is transcending boundaries. So that's the theme that students have chosen to work on and to sort of organize the event. Now, talking of supply chain management or logistics and supply chain management, terms are very sort of similar, though not exactly same. It obviously means you are transcending boundaries. What kind of boundaries? Global boundaries, economic boundaries, technological boundaries. You think of any mid-size to big businesses. Obviously, each one of them will have a supply chain associated with them. Think of a roadside tea stall owner. Early morning, he has his own supply chain of milk, sugar, firewood, and other things. And then possibly he prepares a tea, a set of cups of tea, and then sells it. And in 2, 3, 4 hours, he gets his revenue back, he gets his money back. He has his own supply chain. He has his own way of forecasting how many cups, how many liters of milk that particular day. So any business you can think of will have their own supply chain. Logistics as a term is little older, logisticos, which typically is associated with military movement. So 1,000 years back, 2,000 years back, the army of the king or the emperor would be moving across countries, across territory, fighting wars, their ration, their ammunitions. So that's a kind of a logistical movement. Today I think it's part of supply chain management, and logistics could be taken as or thought as the physical distribution of goods and services. But anyway, logistics and supply chain management is a kind of a term that is not very old. 1970s, 80s, it became as a kind of a jargon vocabulary. So any supply chain you see today would possibly have a global implication, globalization. Because of economic need or political need, it's a liberalization. Gone are the days when a small village could be self-sufficient in all that they need. It's very difficult today's complex business environment or the consumption pattern that you have as an individual. We need various kinds of goods and services. It is very difficult to be self-sufficient in a local geography. So that's why globalization, liberalization is part of the thing. And how to do that? Technology. Production technology, information technology, and associated technology that is there. For example, you have 3D printing, additive manufacturing. When it becomes commercialized in a much wider way, all that we are discussing today will be gone for a toss. There will be new models, there will be new theories, has to happen. When that kind of sort of destructive technology becomes commercialized. Drone delivery, autonomous vehicles, all this becomes more commercialized and developed and possibly get regulated by government regulation and all, then the supply chain that we know today would be going for a big change. So coming to specific today's topic, which is about agile. So before we go into agility, there are three terms that come together: lean, agile, and responsiveness. A lean typically would mean that no waste. A lean person has no extra fat. Now, Toyota production system has a way of defining what are the waste, various types of waste, 8 or 9 types of waste. Overproduction, that means if a company is producing without customer order, overproduction, in some way that's a waste. Overprocessing, the dimension was given for a particular amount. I wanted this dimension, this weight, this length, but I'm not able to do that. I have a tolerance. Now for Toyota production system or a lean system, that's a waste, over-processing. I'm not able to achieve the given target, that's a waste. So there are various types of wastes. And a lean system, a lean supply chain would be able to identify those wastes and reduce or eliminate them. But a lean person may be a little lazy, not able to move, not willing to move. Comes the agility. Agility means ability to move in the right direction. So we call it a velocity or speed. There are strategic changes happening in the business environment. Are you able to foresee and able to move quick enough? So that is responsiveness. To give you an example, Kodak film business, it went bankrupt. Not that it was not a good business. It was pretty lean business. But they completely lost the agility and responsiveness that is trying to move in the right direction. The business environment has changed. They could not foresee it. So businesses or supply chains associated with the businesses has to be lean, agile, and responsive. So that's the first term that we are having today. Next term is about vision. Now, talking about vision, we'll again have three terms: mission, vision, and strategy. Mission, I would briefly or simply put it as the reason d'etre or reason for your existence. Why do we exist today? As a business organization, as a part of the business, why do we exist today? What do we do best today? That is my mission. Vision would be futuristic, long term. 5 years, 10 years, where do I want to be? As an individual or as a business? So that's my vision. Now between mission, that is today's state, and the vision, that is tomorrow's state, how do I go? I need a set of actions. Strategy. So I put strategy as a set of actions which is developed and deployed. So strategy is thinking as well as implementation. Strategy has to have broadly two parts in it. I should be able to develop strategy and deploy, implement strategy as per the development. So that's how the second part of our topic, vision, that is mission, vision, and connecting through a strategic actions. Coming to the third term, which is resilience, I would take two more terms, which is flexibility and robustness. What is flexibility? To give you an example, there could be time flexibility. So in a supply chain, there is a supply contract. I need that item in 7 days. The time is agreed and a contracted. But sometimes the 7 days, maybe 5 days, I need it early because there's an urgency. Or that 7 days could be 10 days. I need it little delay because my consumption has not happened or there's a forecasting error. So can I change the time quickly, effortlessly? That is time flexibility. Next would be volume flexibility. I asked for 10 ton of material. The contract, supply contract was 10 ton of material. But for some reason, 10 ton has to become 12 tons, little more. Or 10 ton has to become 8 tons, little less. Can the supply chain absorb that volume change, quantity change? That is quantity flexibility. And the third is could be variety flexibility, which is I needed 5 items, A, B, C, D, E. Now I need 6 items. I add one more item. A variety increased. Or no, not 5 items. I need only 3 items. Variety less. So can the supply chain take this variety change or variety flexibility? So that is one part of capability of a supply chain, being flexible. Other part is about being robust. Now there is a whole lot of topic about robust design. Toyota Production System or Mr. or Dr. Jenichi Taguchi, who gave the concept or tools and techniques for a robust design. A robust design would mean, a robust system would mean that it can still function in adverse conditions. I'll tell you a story. When I was in industry, I was working in a rolling mill, and that time, 30 years back, the rolling mills were on the ground, so the facilities were underground. The motors, the shafts, all the driving couplings and all that will be underground. And then the mill will be on the floor. And that was very convenient design at that point of time. Today modern mill will be up the floor, anyway. So we had an old mill and it was as usual underground, and as luck would have it, in one rainy, absolutely rainy day or night, we had a pipeline failure. So there are big water pipelines going across and there's a heavy rain happening, and for some strange reason, the 2 pipelines burst at the same time. So entire mill floor was flooded, mud, water, full flooding. So we sort of emptied out, took 2 days, and then we were all sort of devastated because we knew that the entire mill is gone. Because electrical components, electronic components, if they are submerged in mud and water, obviously they have very little chance of survival. Now we figured out that days, you have to imagine, that days there is no Google, there is no mobile, only a landline. So we figured out the supplier. It's a Russian supplier, designer and supplier. So we called them up with great difficulty. We found a person who can talk in Russian. So that fellow explained the whole thing to them. They just listened everything and said, clean, dry and start. I thought they would not understand our situation. We again explained the whole thing. The entire mill floor was flooded. It is full of water and mud. We have cleaned the water, but still dirty and slushy and all that. The Russian fellow says, clean, dry and start. Okay, we did that, managed to clean it up, managed to dry it up, and press the button. You won't believe the entire mill started as if it was new. We were very surprised. Then again came back to that the designer and the supplier, and they said, look, you don't worry, these mills are designed for Siberian conditions. Huge snow, huge flooding, still they'll work. Now that's a robust design. A system design, a component design, item that can still work on adverse conditions. One may argue that's overkill, but well, that day our lives were saved, our salary was saved, because the mill was robust. So robustness is one aspect of being resilient. Coming to resilience, I will give an example of a boxer, a good boxer. Who is a good boxer? Not the one who can throw fast, heavy punches. A good boxer also needs to take punches. And if he falls down, he has to get up quickly before the count of 10 from the referee. How many times he can do that? That would be a boxer who will win possibly the match. So resilience has 2 aspects. One is resistance, that is, I don't fall down. If I have given a certain specific operating characteristics and features and parameters, I will function on those parameters, even if things are not going good. So that is resistance. Second is recovery, which is if I fall down, I must quickly get up before the count of 10 and then start throwing punches again. So a resilient supply chain possibly has to have two characteristics. One is resistance to fall down, and if you fall down, quickly recover and function again. Well, the last part of the topic, that is supply chain and business, again is debatable. Why supply? Why not demand? Because supply and demand are together. So my take on that would be, supply is internal supply capacity. How much supply capacity you have, that is possibly internal. How many machines, how many operators, and all that. How many shifts you are running. Whereas demand is possibly market-driven, customer-driven, somewhat external. But of course, I as a business organization, I as a supply chain manager, can influence demand. Price discount, one buy, one free, good or bad, we can do that. So supply is a kind of a misnomer. It could be demand network as well. So supply and demand concepts come together. Supply is your ability to supply, internal concepts, and demand is from the market by the customer, and they two has to match. Chain is absolutely not fitting here because chain means a diagonal link. Think of a bicycle chain or a motorcycle chain, one link connected to the next link, connected to the next link, and giving a linkage or a strength. But in supply chain, it is absolutely not there. It's a complex set of entities connected together. So as a manufacturing organization, I have 3, 4, 5 suppliers. And their suppliers. So tier 1 supplier, tier 2 supplier, and that way. To give you an example, let's say I'm a car maker. I'm assembling and making and selling cars. I have a tire supplier. So that's my tier 1 supplier. A set of them maybe, because I have various types of vehicles which require various types of tires. Now the tire supplier would have a rubber supplier. So that's my tier 2 supplier. So chain is not really fitting in here. It could be a complex network of entities connected together through a business relationship. Everybody wants to make normal profit, and that's the motive of any supply chain or demand network. So I think with this kind of initial thoughts and discussions, I leave the floor to the speakers. 3 of them are on the stage, and 4th one will join us very soon. And X Ops people have a sequence of choosing who will speak first. So as I have discussed the speakers, we have every speaker coming and speaking about 30-35 minutes, which will include their introduction, if there are anything that I missed out, their life journeys, and little bit on the topic as well. So after you have listened to all the 3 plus 1 speaker, then at the end we will have question answer session. So we have a mic floating around, you can raise your hand and you can introduce yourself and ask the question to a specific speaker because they have individual domains as well, or to the dais in general. And then we have vote of thanks at the end, and we plan to complete the entire first half session by 1:15 or so, and then we get for lunch. I think that's the plan we have. Is okay? Okay, then that's what I have, and then I leave the floor to the X Ops to invite the speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for inspiring words. Now, we will have a first speaker for the day. Partha, sir, we invite you on the stage.
No, I just want it to be on the presentation mode. Presentation mode. Okay.
Hi, good morning everyone. Am I audible? Okay, wonderful. I can shout and yell as well. This is the picture, right? This is the slide, right? I think you all should celebrate today because you all are part of that elite group who could make to this institution. I think I heard Professor Paul talking about it. At least I got an opportunity after 35 years to come here. Since its inception, and you are all those lucky who competed and who were the winners amongst your own peer group. I think 3 claps for all of you.
Hello. Just a brief introduction. I think X Ops team has already talked about me. I started my career at the age of 22, maybe at your age only. Graduated from University College of Engineering, Burla, Electronics Telecommunication, and for about 32 years, initial 7 years was into hardcore production. Because in those days we never had services as an industry. Very few, maybe hospitals and hotels. Rest all used to be manufacturing and core, right? So I think I started my journey in 1990 till about 98, 97. I was in hardcore manufacturing assembly line setups, managing production, shifts, supply chain. In those days, supply chain was not the term, as Professor actually Paul was talking about. It was more of material function. It was more of purchase department, right? And it used to be just a straight jacket, where it was a part of a support function. When the indent comes, you are supposed to supply it, right? So from there, I actually transited to an organization by the name Airtel when it was born. Airtel was born in 97, I joined in 98. I was the 60th employee of that organization. I was there for about 14 and a half years. And when I left that organization, I was handling pan-India supply chain operations for all the businesses, whether it is DTH, broadband, mobile, enterprise, right? And prior to that, I had about 4 or 5 years of stint in terms of pure category contracting. My category used to have about 10 verticals, right from media, content, infrastructure, to financial services, to insurance, except for technology and IT. I had rest all portfolios with me. And that's how I started my journey. I actually started learning from the field itself. And I always feel supply chain as a subject. You need to have some basic fundamentals like economic ordering quantity, constraint, theory of constraints, and all those things, because it's finally going to help you not only in supply chain, in practically any vertical of management, right? Whether it is to do with transformation within the organization or to build efficiency within the particular set, you need to have these concepts. Now, how do I apply? Application comes from your entrepreneurial skills. We normally think entrepreneur is the guy who has put his money on the table and is running a show. But I always feel the guys who are on the table, if he is managing the table properly, he is entrepreneur of his own table. He is managing his resources. I think Professor was also talking, or somebody was talking, that what do? We go to a pakoda shop, he has a supply chain. Forget about pakoda shop. Your mom manages a supply chain at home. Your dad manages a supply chain at home. Today you are not doing it, but tomorrow you need to do it once you are independent. I think supply chain runs across the thread. Don't look at it as a big bomb. It's a very simple. I always feel supply chain can be managed if, number one, you have presence of mind, and number two, you have common sense. The moment you balance it, you are back home safe. And once you have graduated from these kind of organizations, what organizations or institutes actually impart? They impart tools to perfect the delivery, tools to create a repetitive sustenance on those deliveries. And whatever you study in these institutes is supposed to be applied on a real ground. Today, what I'm going to talk about is, one perspective is, what is the context of supply chain? What do you understand by supply chain? Because I have 30 minutes, I don't want to do an interactive session. I will practically do a download only. So I will talk about what is supply chain and what is a challenge of a modern supply chain. And it sets across whether it is manufacturing, whether it is services or any other field. Now if you see the screen, are you able to see the screen? Yeah. Now there is a lady on the screen. What does that depict? Now look what you have done. You have created constraint between the 2 feet. Right? And yet you see she is demonstrating that energy, agility to win, even though the legs are stuck. That is a business challenge in real world. You want to perform, but there are external setups which actually pulls you down. So what is the need? Need is to be more responsive, as again Professor Paul had mentioned earlier. And you need to be resilient, means I need not to drop down. I need to always spring back and always have that winning speed that I need to win. And that's what is all about resilience. We had this pandemic recently. Most of the organizations have come back. Yes, I understand economy, don't look at the GDP, don't look at the GST numbers, it may give a different fare. Economy is yet to rise up, but confidence has started coming onto the ground. People have started going to work. People have started actually purchasing things. That's the easiest thing what you can see. When people stop purchasing, means economy is down. When there is a transaction on the shops, you understand economy is going up. So people have become resilient, and within 2 years it slowly started coming back. What has happened in all these years? This was one of the biggest pandemic which has happened. We have taken business as usual. We took it for granted. Nothing can fail in this world. I can take any risk. But this pandemic has taught, if you don't do a risk assessment, you are supposed to fall, if not today, then it is tomorrow. I will just set up the context now. Now if you see, we have a global economy. What does this global economy mean to us, mean to each of us? Global economy means you are accessible to the globe in terms of market, in terms of selling, in terms of buying. Okay? So that's what is global economy. Now, if you see, apart from the global economy, we also are talking about there are global supply chain disruptions also happening. Now, what is the pitfall? I talked about the advantage. You can scale up when it is global. You can scale up with just a shot. You want to reach the market over the phone call, you can do it. Like Professor was saying, it was so difficult to connect to the Russian supplier. Now it is not. Just over a click of a button you are there. Right? But what is the biggest pitfall? You have scaled up, you have outsourced, yet the problem is, now what is the supply chain? You know which is the weakest link in a chain? Actually, the strength of the chain depends on the weakest link. The link which breaks will actually define the strength of that whole chain. So here the weakest chain can be your global economy or the global reach. I'm just giving a different perspective to what we talk about globalization. Now how we need to mitigate this? Because one war, like yesterday Putin has told, okay fine, I need to invade 2 more regions in Ukraine. So the war is going to be elongated. Once the war is elongated, what is going to happen? He is not going to give gas to the NATO. So what is going to happen? Whole Europe is anyway burning cash on electricity charges. So I do not know what are being sourced from Europe, how it is getting affected, what will the cost of services. These all are getting affected. These are all unknown to us. That is the problem of a global economy. We actually don't know when somebody is going to pull one card and the whole pack is going to come down. Now how do we do it? It's through our resilience mechanism. We need to have a risk framework. Like when you go and you want to jump a puddle of water during rainy season, you actually check whether the stone is going to sink or it is going to hold my feet. The The same risk assessment you have to do in your business, and same is to do with supply chain as well. Coming on to business expectations. Please understand who defines the business. Who defines the business expectation? Any one volunteer? Just one volunteer who can say. Who defines the business expectation? It's the consumer behavior. The consumer demands. At times, he speaks about the demand. At times, it's a perceived demand. Did we ever know that Amazons and Flipkarts will come one day? We will stop going to the mom and pop shop? No. So that was a perceived demand. How did they play? They actually went and gave you a whole bouquet. You choose what you want. They gave you warehouses which you can't fill in the warehouse because it was in a digital manner. Okay. So what happens? Now business is driven by the consumer. Consumer behavior changes, so business has to change. Why I am saying these things? Because in the current generation, I may be wrong, most of us has grown with a very set standard in life. I need ABC, my dad provides ABC, that's it. We don't know what is ambiguity. We don't know how to play around when there is a crisis. But once you go to the business world, it's all crisis from day one. Because the external customer is changing, his requirement is changing, every functional requirement is changing, and similarly supply chain is also changing. Now, what is the biggest problem of supply chain? Supply chain is the only function which actually, I can say, who actually funnels the whole input to that organization, gives their input to process. If it is a manufacturing, they give it on the conveyor. If it's a services, he gives it onto the technology or to the processors, who then processes and then delivers. So if you see the whole business constraint, the bottleneck becomes supply chain. You have to procure technology, you have to procure material, you have to ensure logistics, you have to ensure the quality also. Because whatever you are putting money for that box need to work for what you have paid. I'm just sensitizing the field by the name supply chain, because most of us have that feeling that supply chain is only to do with logistics, mostly logistics. It's not. It starts right from demand till utilization of that asset or machine. You bought a DG set, you bought an inverter for your home, he says 3 years warranty, but the life of that inverter should be 5 years, the battery should be replaced after 5 years. So you need to ensure the proper functioning, the charging and discharging cycle to ensure that battery doesn't fail before that. And that's what supply chain is also supposed to do. Because you are the spender in the organization. And that's what has happened lately. Supply chain used to be thought as the cost centers. They only spend money. They don't generate revenue. But what has happened over the last 10-15 years? Supply chain has started getting a role in the board. They have started contributing onto the P&L of the organization, the profit and loss of that organization, by not only reducing cost. Reduction of cost doesn't bring efficiency. It's one element of bringing efficiency. The other big element which is unattended is the volume. And who controls volume? It's the user, it's not the supply chain. So, the spend is what excites the financial officer of any organization who is looking at the balance sheet. And a spend is actually a combination of cost into volume. So, supply chain should also have a role, if not controlling, at least monitoring the volumetric analysis. What kind of wastages? What kind of utilization? What kind of stocks are lying here and there? So also, supply chain becomes a watchdog in the organization. And it's supposed to be one of the most powerful. If you exert those, what I'm talking, you become indispensable, so powerful you can't imagine. Nothing moves without actually you noting it. I'm not saying boosting that you need to be controller, but you become such a huge facilitator, crisscrossing the whole organization, right? Now, talking about the business expectations, there are visions. We talked about functional vision, and every function has to have a vision. Now, where does the vision drive from? Every brand, every business has a business vision. Typically, these business visions are hovering around 2 to 3 parameters. Number one, you need to have a market leadership. That leadership can be on revenue leadership, that can be on customer leadership. Okay. Second, you need to have a financial and environmental sustainability. You need to be profitable. Otherwise, what's the fun of doing a business? Right? And third, I think, what did I write? Third is the value creation for the stakeholders. You have investors, right? You have to create value. Now, if these are the reference set for a organization's vision, we need to derive complementary vision tracks for the function also, which is supply chain. So what happens in all this? A new challenge comes out. A new challenge for supply chain comes out, and that talks about you need to, because if you need to have a market leadership, a revenue leadership, and a customer leadership, you need to have the mark to the market. You need to be the best price, you need to be the best quality, everything has to be best. Then only you will have a market leadership in terms of revenue and customer. Who is supposed to facilitate this? There are processors, but there are guys who are supposed to give the input, which is supply chain again. Right? So it becomes a huge accountability on supply chain to ensure the end delivery happens as per the business need. Sorry. And once you are marking it to the market, because market is changing, every day there is a new product. Every day there is a new, sorry Reena, I may take your example also. Earlier it was Zomato, all of a sudden Swiggy came up. Okay. Zomato didn't know that there will be competition, but yes, once you do a business, you know somebody is going to catch up. So, how do you market to the market? You start innovating. You start having a roadmap of dropping features. Who decides this? The marketing of the team. But who is supposed to deliver? Supply chain. Supply chain has to source it. Whatever is the aspiration of the marketing team. So you have to be on a constant innovative mode. You need to have the largest network amongst the partners as well as your own functional teams. Then only you can facilitate what is needed and which will be a winner for the brand. This slide is practically the end of my presentation. After that, there are 2 slides which only talks about the summarization. This I'll just explain it to you, what I meant. Now we talked about, in the earlier slide, we talked about the mark-to-market as a challenge. We talked about agility as a requirement which can build in this mark-to-market initiatives. So, how do I build a functional agility? This is the topic of this slide. What is a business expectation? Business expectation from supply chain. This is not nothing business expectation from nobody, from supply chain as a function. Business expectation is supply chain should be predictive. If I ask you to deliver X, you have to deliver X at time T, at the cost R. Close, period. I don't know what to do. So your internal system needs to be so robust, it needs to be so analytical, it needs needs to have so much of market information that your processing becomes so effective and you become predictive. Today, I may have a requirement of 100 boxes, or I have a customer base, assuming I am operating in Orissa. I have a customer base of, let's assume, 3 crores of subscribers. I'm now talking about a service industry. 3 crores of subscribers. Now the company feels, let me go to Chhattisgarh and open a shop there. I need to scale. I need to have suppliers who have capability to deliver at Chhattisgarh. Right? So, whether it is predictability that's expected by the business from supply chain, its scalability, again it is asked to the supply chain, and third one, which is assured. The organization feels once you have delivered, it's just you can just do it. You need to be repetitive. You need to ensure the quality keeps on happening every time and again. That means I need to have a governance system. You must have heard about this because most of you I came to know is from first year, so I'm not going too much into the details. You must be knowing what is audit, right? So there has to be, now audit as a term, people take a very negative connotation. So people have whitewashed this and created a term by the name assurance. Okay? So it sounds very positive. It's not a negative word. So the organization wants an assured product. So to have that assured product, you have to be in constant touch with your supplier. You need to ensure his input. It's not that I want to fry one pakoda across the road and I'm a brand. I need to ensure who is the farmer, what kind of pesticide he is putting to grow those chanas. That's what is assurance. That's what is expected out of supply chain. And I'm saying all this because supply chain as a field is never ending. Yesterday I was talking to a few of your, I think, peer groups, and I was saying supply chain is something where your agility standard needs to be like an amoeba. You know what is amoeba? Right? It's so fluid. It's so agile. It can take any shape, any form. Supply chain is actually a catalyst in the organization. You please understand because these are very, very important. Catalyst means the whole bottleneck is on you. You are a catalyst from input to output. So the importance you need to generate as if you are running the show. Your all windows should be open when there is a problem. That is what is expected out of the supply chain. So the business, I talked about the business expectations from supply chain. Now what can be the tools? Everything I can't have people doing because it cannot be repetitive. Whatever repetitive, I need to do it through a tool. And there are 3 tracks which I could just imagine. One is data management. Without data, no gut works in any organization. You have to be obsessive about data. Don't go by hearsay. Somebody has told, boss, document it out. Unless I see the document, unless I see the trend, when it has failed, you show me. Unless you look at those, you can't go right. When I used to do sourcing, I used to do vendor audits. And in vendor audits, I will never talk to the line manager. I talk to the operator. And I used to have only one question. What if you don't do it right? Do you know what is the effect on the next stage? If he knows, I know the product is assured. Because he knows his problems. If he doesn't know, that means quality standard is failing somewhere. So supply chain as a function needs to understand supplier business, his technology, your own business. It's a maddening learning frame. You can't stop learning. It's so interesting. Now you need to have data management. You need to adopt to new technologies. We have heard about AI. We have talked about ML. whatever automation you have, you must have, did you hear about RPA? Right? So it's again a jargon. It's not, it's just automation. Right? So now what do we automate? We only have an algorithm which we know this is the process. We code it, it goes repetitively. And in AI, we create some thresholds. If it reaches the threshold, the next step kicks in. Who defines it? A human. So, I always feel NI, which is natural intelligence, is much higher than AI. Okay? Believe in your AI. Stop looking for everything into Google. Your own intelligence, if you start rubbing, you don't know where you're going to reach. So, use tools wherever it is needed. Once you want to scale, what happens? Certain things you can repeat. Everything you can't do it. So, when you are actually managing a scale, you only manage by exception. You say, okay, fine, there is a housekeeping boy who is cleaning the washroom. He did not to tick the checkbox. Yeah, I have cleaned X, A, B, C, D. His thing should be, he should only report what has gone wrong in that washroom today. So that the management time is used only on decision making, nothing else. Management is least bothered on compliances. Management feels that I have given Mr. X 100 rupees, he's supposed to perform. I don't want to hear it. If you have a problem, come to me. So create tools on exceptions which will make you more scalable. And then of course supplier relationship, because you need to go on a long haul, you need to have supplier trust building. All this I'm not covering here because it will be too much for today's session. And what do you build out of these? What do you build as your functional capabilities? Those functional capabilities are, once you use these tools, you have a proactive decision-making capability. You inherently become flexible because you have the tools to be flexible. You are cost-effective to manage the operations, and you have a profitable workflow. And this actually pumps the functional agility. And this agility finally dovetails into your resilience. If you go to the last slide, that's what I told. This last one, your resilience will come from agility. Right, so more or less this covers my presentation in terms of the topic. I'll just give you one summary slide after this. This was your topic. Right? X Ops topic was agility, vision and resilience in modern supply chain business. We talked about vision. I have just recasted the whole thing on a pictorial frame. To operationalize a vision, you need to have a correct strategy in place. Okay. Don't think strategy to be too big. You know which is the biggest strategy in the world? The execution strategy, which we forget. We always feel the planning strategy is the biggest strategy. Actually, the execution strategy is the biggest and most effective strategy. If your execution strategy is not correct, nothing can function. Okay? So, strategy, number one. Number two, process. You need to have the correct set of process to map to those visions. And third, very, very important, the catalysts. You all, the resources. It can be human, it can be machine. You all, three of you, actually start looking at the vision and casting the vision into a delivery map, what is expected by the business. And this is how a supply chain vision looks like. I have just given the framework. You have a vision, then you have a funnel. In that funnel, you have predictability, scalability, assurance. as your tools and processes. Once you have these things in place, it actually dovetails into a resilient supply chain. So what am I trying to prove? I'm trying to prove supply chain is not only a contributor for the business. Finally, a stage has come where supply chain is actually driving the business from back. It's a rare wheel-driven motor now. Front is by sales and back is by supply chain. What are the leadership traits? What does a supply chain guy should look like? How he should behave? 3-4 traits. His DNA should be challenging the obvious. If it is happening for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, why it is happening? I can't take it granted कि ऐसा ही होता है. Why it is happening? Can't there be a second option to execute the same output? That's what is the innovation. When you are challenging, so supply chain becomes an innovation in terms of process. Okay. Then very high integrity on information and knowledge. No hearsay. Data has to be there. Channel for market intelligence has to be there. Who will give you the references? Okay. And then third is a very strong team maker. You need to be like mapping frequencies 0 to 180 degrees. Most of you must have done geometry in your life till now. 0 to 180 degree spectrum. You have to have the capability to match frequencies. That means you are able to convince, you are able to articulate, you are able to actually drive, consolidate the team to the logical conclusion. Positioning, once you do all this, I don't see why an organization will stop you bringing on to the board. Board means what? It's not management, it can be just a decision-making board. You are a decision maker on the board. When I was in corporate, I used to be sitting on the product launch. Before the product, when the product used to be, we will say, this is the tariff plan. Okay, fine, supply chain, you come and say what can go wrong. That's the kind of credibility you have to bring within the organization to come to that. And once you are there, you are a part of the business. You will start enjoying that flow. I think resource skill I have already talked about. I think that ends my delivery today. Thank you, Professor. Thank you all of you for listening so quietly. Never imagined. I am so happy and thankful to all of you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your experience and knowledge in supply chain with all of us. We are also joined by our fourth speaker, Jaya Krishna Das. Welcome, sir. Our next speaker will be Reena Evans, ma'am. Let's all welcome her with an applause.
Hi everyone. Are you like silent students? So it's very nice. Thank you so much for having us over here. And somebody was telling me that, I was the first speaker and then I invited Mr. Roy. But I think, that's what experience matters. He set the stage right. He's given the complete 360 degrees view of what supply is and, what drives the supply chain. Because if I would have gone first, I would have talked everything about startup. So that's where the world that I have seen since 15 years. A quick brief about myself. I started my career thanks to my mom. She used to bug me a lot just right after my graduation. So I haven't attended any college like a business school or something. I have started my career in 2005 and I'm from Visakhapatnam. So the only opportunity I had in front of me was a Mercedes-Benz showroom. So I was like, okay, one day I'll buy it, so why not go and just work there? So it was a wonderful opportunity. I got there as a showroom sales executive. So anything coming there my way, I just always made it, and I thought like, okay, I'll be very good at sales. And I started my career with Mercedes-Benz as a showroom sales executive. And I worked there for almost 3 years. And I kind of started, being a sales manager and then kind of played various roles over there. And then moved to HSBC from sales to a banking sector. And in HSBC, I worked for almost 4 years, and I worked for fraud disputes channel. So basically, I worked for Visa under HSBC, under FSA, which is Financial Security Authority of UK, in understanding how frauds happen, and there's another cycle on the cards which is disputes. So I kind of worked in both of it. End of HSBC, I was one of the 100 Club member of HSBC worldwide, where we have, those selections happens based on the performances and all, like you have an alumni club. So I'm one of the 100 Club members there. And after HSBC, I started my career early, and I also got married very early. I got married when I was 22, and again left HSBC, left Visakhapatnam, moved to Bangalore. We never thought HSBC I would leave because it's a very settled job, hometown, no work, like in terms of like nothing to do at home, just go office and everything. When we moved to Bangalore, I just moved with a suitcase, like thinking we'll explore there. Like that's the mindset that we came in there. And me and my husband both worked in the same companies all the way. When we went to Bangalore, obviously the companies are like Deloitte, TCS, all the IT call centers. Because I think the entry point was different sectors, but the easiest way to get a job is, you will go ahead and only scout there. So when we went to Bangalore, we were like on those job portals, and suddenly one day we got a call from Flipkart saying, my husband got a call. And we have an interview. I just tagged along sitting outside, and the recruiter said, why don't you give an interview? I said, sure, even I'm looking for a job. I was selected for B2B sales, considering I have a sales background, and Flipkart was in a 2-bedroom house. I was on the ground floor, and my husband was giving an interview in the first floor. Interview when we got selected, I was like, you do B2B sales. I was like, okay, what is Flipkart? Like, we don't know. And from there, HSBC to Flipkart, what is this e-commerce? I know there's a concept of Amazon which exists then. It was a tough decision to work in a corporate world, seeing everything settled, organized, and everything to come to such an unorganized sector and no stability. I think that's the gut feeling, that's the, what you want to do next, like what is different, what you can learn is what always driven me. So to Flipkart, the day I joined, they said like, no, we want to start our own in-house growth apart from books. So you will be taking over content and catalog. I have a zero knowledge. So B2B sales, at least I did some sales. So I know something, okay, how to sell or like how to structure it. I was like, what is content and catalog? I'm like, what do I have to do? So basically from books, they want to start selling large appliances, small appliances, electronics. So where I've seen myself first is, okay, if I have to buy, what do I see? What makes me buy? It's a user experience, right? So I think the company has grown, we have grown, we taught each other what to be done, what not to be done. I think that's how, I think the whole Indian market has grown, right? Learning from the first company so digitally, right, is knowing the users. Today, when Flipkart has started way back in 2009, I joined them in 2010 approximately, and then as a users, we have tried fitting ourselves there. As a user, if you have to do it, if you want this, if you have to get this, what you would do. I think that has given us that personal touch, to reach the audience, trust us, and, expand ourselves more. So my journey with Flipkart has been for about 4 years, and from that first 30, 40 employees to, I worked in 14 offices, because every 50 people used to get added, used to buy a small other office. So the scale up happened, and the feeling that you get that you have contributed to something from 0 to 1. Company has grown, I have grown, learned a lot. So that's where my e-commerce journey has started all the way. It's been 15 years now that I have been associated with e-commerce. But one thing is, my base of e-commerce always remained, or like say my tagline has been, she's good at content and catalog. Right? So when I say content and catalog, that's where I started my career. While I have explored a lot more into e-commerce, that's been one of my core functions that I have, continued working towards exploring my learning capabilities. Flipkart transformed from a bookstore to an electronic store, and then suddenly they want to sell fashion, health and beauty products. So in my 4 years of Flipkart, I was reporting to Binny directly. I used to see that man only once in a year, because all he used to say, we have to launch next this, and that's all it is, and he's disappeared. Like, what do we do? If we wanted to launch a health and beauty category, people used to see us like an electronic category. The transformation, not just in the business, the transformation of users, the perception change. This is all, is the background work, okay? There is a demand. We have given the taste of e-commerce, giving the whole bunch. Now you select what you want, but the experience matters. People today want, shop with online platforms with emotion, right? And they're very brutal, okay? They're not, loyal. None of us are loyal to any e-commerce, right? But we are emotional. When we say, oh, I really love them, probably they would have done better, but I will always purchase from Zomato, right? Because they have a preference. Preference is kind of selective models that we work on, selectiveness that we are giving the end user, buy everything in one shot, give a cash on delivery model. I think that's where, when Flipkart wants to switch the perception of a retail store model to, like, say, fashion store, and we have Myntra, Jabong was there at that point in time. So it took over slowly and eventually. And from Flipkart, I have moved to Lazada, which is Alibaba Group. And the reason I moved there again is there was a learning. In each sector that I have worked, there is a learning of complete different industries, but still have the base touch which I am growing my experience on. So Lazada is mostly about cross-border culture. So I have been hired as a regional head for content and catalog for 7 countries. So basically my responsibility is to ensure the catalog, the users understand what we are selling with legalities, or the pictures, the content which goes there, the selection basically, the category, completing the category trees. This is my core job there. So the basic SOPs of the processes need to be set and then deploy them in each country. Each country has their own nuances of what products to be sold online, what shouldn't be. So this is my job there. I had to move back in a year because of my personal commitments. And then I moved into a sector which is selling cement and steel online. You might have heard about industry called, I think a company name I would take, that is not where I work, M Supply. Anyone heard about it? Okay, so basically, I say that because Bilkar nobody heard, and M Supply did a lot of marketing to set the voice. So as Sir was telling, the vision of that particular segment when the startup brought into the world was, we have a TAM, which is, we know the targeted users who are there for it. And at the same time, there were no players who was doing this online. So basically selling cement, steel, bricks, everything, you need any raw material to build a building, everything is sold online. So it was very interesting in this segment because that's where probably I got to see the other side of supply chain in understanding how the distribution happens. Otherwise, I'm a core technical person working towards the front end, setting the backends, the systems, the governance policies and all. But this is where, because it's a startup and we were like one founder and the CTO and then the core member is me. The distribution channel, why would anybody buy a cement here when the cement is a very monopoly industry driven by distributors? How can we place between a distributor and a brand? What is that we can give the benefit to the end user? And it's a very credit-driven industry, right? So if we as an e-commerce, disrupt the concept of, okay, pay later, and how later and how big the money is. So I think this is an industry that I have worked for about 2.5, 3 years, and it was great. We eventually changed the way we work. Initially, we used to give credits, take credits, and then we went to a model of working with only government projects, where at least the money is secured coming from the government and things like that. Post that, I have worked with Swiggy, and I'm still working with Swiggy. And in Swiggy, I have been hired for taking care of onboarding and menu revisions. So I know it sounds a very technical process, and it is a very core part of supply chain. In food industry, what I have seen is it is unlike any Flipkarts or selling in a steel or cement. Today, you want to, like say I'm a restaurant, today I have 10 items to be sold. Now I have a dynamic menu. Morning I have some different 10 items versus night I have a different 10 items. And suddenly I have a dynamic inventory. I have a huge dine-in. So they don't categorize saying, okay, I will only take 10 orders from online platform and rest goes. It's not a segmented inventory model, right? So it is very dynamic. So when I say menu revision, today a restaurant changes his menu of what they want to serve tomorrow and they give it to us. How quickly can I get it up, right? So that is one of the challenges. How much I do it for the vendors. Like I have today on the platform around 6 lakh vendors. In that we have transacting vendors, not transacting vendors, and a lot of nuances about it. And the concept here was the vision of Swiggy is about giving unparalleled convenience to the vendors, to being an aggregator. But we need to live up to it. When we say we need to live up to it, we have a huge demand. I know Zomato is already there in the market. Why Swiggy? I think we created a difference, right? So when you know that there is a big player, when Flipkart came onto the market, their tagline was they want to create Amazon in India, right? They did not create a different tag value because Amazon already had a value. They said that we want to create a platform for the vendors or for the users to discover everything under one model, right? So there is already a set model in the ground. There is already set industry on the ground. We have identified we can still occupy the place and we still can create a difference. And I think Swiggy very elegantly pulled it out by creating a difference. And here I started my core supply operations by just not with onboarding team. So every department or every company, I would say, at least for e-commerce, unlike the companies on the ground like shipping, procurement, core procurement departments, I think the whole startup have a different departments, how they connect each chain of supply. So I work in the operations where I have a 360-degree view in terms of, okay, what's the business need? How do I work with the business stakeholders? How do I get the legal done? How do I get the finance done? And I am almost call myself a product person because operations is more about how do you make the pace faster, right? So I think this is what my job has taught me, that every organization that you work has a different value to deliver, but that value, how much is it in nerve with the market? How easily you are changing it? So I think during the pandemic, I think it's one of the beautiful transformations that every one of us has seen. Apart from the suffering which has happened, is the transformation. Every single digital first company was selling groceries, right? Anybody and everybody's, but how many has sustained by the end of COVID, right? So there is a market need, there was a requirement, and putting yourself to fulfill the consumer need, everybody did it. Even if you look at Swiggy, Zomato scaled up, right? But the nuances of when you scale up any business is when you need to show the deliverance of consistency. You need to be sustainable in cost, right? And when we say agility as a concept, that is where during the COVID period we have seen Swiggy had 3 ventures: marketplace food, and then we had stores, and we had Instamart, right? So Instamart is an inventory model, which is just a baby bin delivered in Delhi, working just in a city in Delhi during the COVID time. And stores, we were in 2-3 cities with about 100 stores. But scaling up, getting stores into an aggregator model was never the plan. But we had a mother which is like the food industry, right? So we immediately had to switch and fit the user's need by bringing stores on the food platform, right? But how do we control it? We don't have a control. The way food works is different than how the way groceries work. Groceries is a packed food. Cooked food is a raw cooked food, and the cart. So today when you give that, let's say we have put a grocery store on food and I got an order of 50 kg rice bag to be delivered, right? A delivery guy is not equipped for it, right? He has a small bag who can only carry 10 biryani packets. So connecting all that, quickly shifting, and while also in the first 2 months of COVID, we took a very risky call that scale up stores launch. Within the first 2 months, we have onboarded 4,000 stores in food marketplace. Within the next 2 months, we have sunset all the 4,000 stores that we have onboarded on the food marketplace to slowly stores. And this transition, nobody has realized. So that is the flexibility. When you see a need and when you see there is a demand and you can fit in there, instead of just fitting for a short term. I understand that, okay, this is a short-term goal. A lot of industries have picked up to just, cater to the need. But I think Swiggy, being there as an industry first in food as well, has picked up the opportunity very well and then scaled it as well. While we have seen stores growing, so has our Instamart, right? So we quickly transitioned from today, I think stores is closed and everything is there on Instamart. But when this transition happened, what we understood is like, what is the consumer looking for? In store, maybe you get some items in one store and some items in other store. That's not a convenience you're delivering. Maybe you know from which store what to buy. You still can use Swiggy Genie, right? So the market is there, you have a core vision, but you also have opportunities to pick and plug, right? So that is where you need to create a difference. And that is the beauty of the long-term vision, that when you see and set a business, while I have the long-term vision, what are the short-term missions that I can create and create a sustainable product. And from an operation side, the more the business grows, the more the cost to the company and least valued people. But at the same time, operations is nowadays the whole things as Sir said, NI, AI. One person thinks and says what to be done, and then that becomes the AI which delivers and serves thousands of people, right? So I think I'm that one person at least here which says like, I want this, that's it. I don't know how you do it. I'm not technically, but I know what I want, because every business that you want to try is backed only by experience that you're creating. And here the experience you're creating is based on both the end consumer and for us, both sellers and the consumers. So connecting this ease of use between this end to sellers is what has made us scale up as well. So understanding the requirements, creating governance. So the departments that I look in the startups, even when way back in Flipkart or here, catalog and content is widely used because that's the front end. What you see is what you get, right? But to see and get what you want, there is a lot of governance and compliance that you build. Okay, today, like when you order a food, you see technicalities, delivery guy assigned, MFR, which is marked food ready, right? So all these are the technicalities which let the delivery happen within the 30 minutes. And at the same time, there might be times when you open, you try to order the restaurant and the restaurant accepted but cancelled, right? They are just open. They are not taking orders. So plugging and playing there, not just creating a platform, creating a difference, creating a sustainable experience to the end user. And today when we believe in a win-win model. So it is not that today if we partner with partners, vendors, it is not about bringing them on board and they look at us as a transacting platform. Because the moment the vendors start feeling us as a transacting platform, I think the less we can drive them or motivate them. The moment they see us as the partners, they are there for long term, right? And then that's when they come and tell us what is going right, changing what is. It's like it's always been a voice of, the user. It could be your immediate user, end consumer user. So I think this whole journey during the COVID in terms of processes, changing the process, identifying new opportunities and goals, laying our hands in it. I think startup has that, thing in to take the risk, and that risk opportunity is given to people like you who kind of really understand theoretically and also have the zeal to put forward with a lot of backed data. Okay, without data nothing works. We might want to sell anything, but please prove it with data. So data is one of the backbones before we take any call in terms of this. Coming back to the transformation, we also talked about the challenge. If I have to connect between both of this and the vision, I think as a supply chain as a concept, you touch one part. Everything is interlinked. Right? You can't just say, okay, the core supply function runs with operations or growth, or let's say based on finance, or let's say procurement, or let's say inventory. It is linked with each other. If a procurement guy plans how to procure and the inventory guy did not plan how to store it, it goes for a toss, right? So it starts from the beginning. So yesterday someone was asking me a question. We have this problem in procurement. How do we, kind of look at it? I'm not from procurement. But I look at that problem as a problem, irrespective of a department that you're working in, right? So a problem is a problem that you need to solve in each department independently, and that gives you an opportunity to expand your thoughts and look at a wider picture on how can you expand. So from an onboarding, I went into compliance, then I went into support functions, then for the whole platform, I take care of partner experience. When I say partner experience, the restaurants that we tie up with, because they are the backbone and base for us. So putting together, from a supply standpoint, there are a lot of nuances, there are a lot of opportunity areas, there are a lot of flexibility which is available in terms of choosing right, delivering right, saving right. I think wonderful examples are there which I can probably, it might excite you guys understanding how, quickly things work there, and how things change fast. So you would have seen there is this concept like customers come and complain, you guys sell same item at a higher cost, right, compared to a competition. But it's an aggregator taking a challenge to get price neutralizing. Unlike your camera, which is market driven price, right? It's an MRP. But for a restaurant to sell the same item offline to online and online to online a different price is a challenge, right? So it has to be backed with the data to understand, is it industry problem? That okay, from offline to online the moment they come, they will spike the prices. And if they spike the prices because they have to burn, right? Is the consumer accepting? Like today, why do you come to a Swiggy and order? You can also drive, right? When you know that you can order from Swiggy, you expect something in return in terms of the service that they're charging, and even the consumer, right? So I think creating and changing the perception is what basically when we talk about digital transformation or driving it digitally happens. So putting together the whole experience, the industries that I work, overall I have seen everything has a problem. And I like solving problems. And I've been always there in the right place, right time, and right opportunity, and expansion. So that is how the scale-up has happened, be it on the industry front or be it on the personal growth. Because it's like, I think the startup is given a culture of never settle, right? There is like never settle. Like today we get something to do for the year, we finish it in the next 3 months, what's next? Let's do this. And we have that, mode of adopting. And that's why sometimes I go back and when the legacy processes set wonderfully by big companies, if we look at, I feel like will I be ever fit there? Because I don't know if today, I think the whole COVID whatever we have worked in during the first 3 months has to be scrapped out, has to be rewritten again. I think that beauty is there today with the way that technology has brought in, that before the products and systems become legacy, you keep reworking on what is the current market is demanding, what is the current user is looking for, what else can you find the opportunities. Like we see deliveries happening in 30 days, 30 minutes to 10 minutes, right? They want more, but how more? How much more can you serve? But at the same time setting the right expectation, otherwise you are not going to retain the customer. Repeat customer ratio is good, right? But repeat complaint ratio is not good. So you need to go hand in hand before designing a process, before understanding the flexibility or the changes that you need to bring in. How big is an impact that you are going into the market, creating a difference. The first company who got cash on delivery, Flipkart, right? But not worked with everybody, right? Not worked within Flipkart for a lot of other segments. So understanding, fixing those gaps while there is an opportunity, changes required, how frequently, how effectively, what's the cost model that we have, putting all together, makes the supply chain successful model. And one of the biggest opportunity or the biggest learning, recession when happened, I think life didn't change or impacted so much. Right? So with COVID, everything has taught us. Everything is taught us. Like today, we choose jobs who offers work from home. Right? So similarly, it's like the companies have changed the way that they want to. They may not call you work like you have to work from home. So when you step out from here, what you see, what you have seen, or what you have read, probably could be a different thing on what you're gonna face, what you have to solve, because the users are now more used to fast, quality, voice of socializing it, right? So you need to be fast in understanding, delivering, solving the problems. So I think that's more of my journey with the startup world that we have transformed into. And we will continue further in the question and answers round. Thank you so much for patiently waiting.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your experience. So, our next speaker will be Prabhat, sir. So, this stage is all yours.
Hi everybody, am I audible? Okay, it's just going to be good noon, and I'm very happy that I have got a privilege to speak to all of you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Prabhat Kumar Kar. I'm based at Bhubaneswar. I had a couple of years of work experience working for a lot of banks. I left my corporate job in 2011 and started my own venture. When I started my own venture, that time I was very new to the kind of business that I am right now. I had never worked with the government, but at this point of time, working as a consulting firm with the government for helping them to implement lot of program initiations across the country. Minister of Rural Development, Government of India has empaneled us as a permanent training partner for the state of Odisha, working with Panchayat Raj and Drinking Water Department to facilitate a lot of training programs for the youth like all of you. When I started this journey, basically I did not know where to start in fact. So that time, because I had a lot of experience in banks, so government insisted me to start on the training program related to the banking sectors. So when I started with the banking sectors and I have interacted with a lot of youths across the state, coordinating with a lot of district collectors, DRDAs and a lot of government officers, I could find a lot of areas where government had never thought of it to work on that. Recently, during the pandemic, so we came across and find a lot of skill gaps in logistics sector, for which I had requested to the ministry and they have approved the plan. Currently, we are the only company across the country in the skill development sector who is working for building skill development training on logistics and supply chain management. So, starting from Minister of Rural Development, currently we have got in parallel with the Minister of SST and Backward Management Department for this state to implement the training program. So, when I say that it's a training program, the training is all about to know the kind of skills gaps are there in the sectors and taking them to the people who are unemployed. And for me, the major chunk of unemployment lies in the working age group of 18 to 26, having only 10 plus 2 qualifications, nothing more than that. India is the youngest populated country in the entire globe where workable population are the big challenges for the government and for the economy, where a lot of people are unemployed. And 70%, and all of you know that 70% of the people lives in rural sectors. Staying in metro, semi-metro and urban, you have a lot of ideas about logistics. But people who are staying in Rayagada, tribal remote area, those who are tribal youths, those are poorest youths, when they are surviving for their food, they do not know much about logistics. They do not understand. They do not know where there is a carrier existing logistics. 4 days, 5 days back, when your colleague had contacted me, I was in the remote tribal area. When I visited to the remote tribal area, 80% of the time my phone was out of range. When there was no network, when there was no such kind of facilities for the youth, how could you say that the training program will be started? So my interventions is we are coming up with a lot of educations, lot of training programs, coordinating with the government, where we will be presenting the ministries that these are the sectors that need huge manpower. And all of you know that rightly man just said 5 minutes back, couriers and logistics supply chain management, they have grown up to a certain level, maybe 3 times, 4 times. When the business is growing up because of the pandemic, they are expanding, but they do not have the human resources. The people who are running logistics company right now, they do not have logistics management degrees. The people who are managing logistics, they do not have that much of expertise. But if I talk about Flipkart, if I talk about any supply chain management, any logistics company, they need huge manpower for the front runners, those who bring business for the company. If you build up the supply chain management, but at the same time, if you not build up the human resources, then the success story of being in a sector growing probably will not be there suffice. When the industry is growing, the demand for getting into that sector is growing. So at the same time, we should also develop the mechanism, education, degrees for the same sector. 5 years back, I had a meeting with a lot of ministers to start the skill development training program in the high school sector. If a student who is interested to start the career in automobile, he should be trained from the career standard of 8. By the time he is graduated, he will be well aware of the industry. So my question is, logistics is no doubt is a very booming industry, but do I know that where I land? Do I know that where I am fitting into it? I was just interacted with your faculties. Whether is there any management degree in logistics? They said yes. A month back, I had met Vice Chancellor who was telling that why don't you start a management degree in logistics? DTDC, Flipkart, Instacart, lot of companies, they are coming to India, they are coming to Odisha, they are approaching us. We need manpower, sir. And we have given an instruction to the government to start a program so that if industry demands, if industry is growing, let us produce lots of skilled human resources who will just boom this sector by just getting the lot of knowledge and skill development. So my journey started from training on people on banking, later on now it is in the logistics sector. So my job is to facilitate. If the company, the corporate, they need manpower, skilled manpower, we will be producing skilled manpower through the government initiatives. We, from starting of it, like 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, small business place, now we have grown up to a 30 districts presence. Recently, I have got the opportunity from the Chhattisgarh government and Manipur to start the training program, same in their states. And for your information, Odisha has been ranking as the #1 skill development training program state across the country for a couple of years. In a span of 4 years or 5 years, we had trained 6,000 people who are still in the job. We had seen people selling their utensils to come into the Bhubaneswar for taking the training, and now they are trying to Malaysia. And you know that India is been awarded the skilled in Odisha. That's a logo you will be finding in the Google. Lot of people are being appreciated by the Australian government to take our manpower to there because these are the good human resources are being produced in the state. So my perception is industry definitely is growing at its speed, but all of you like youngsters, you also have a lot of opportunities. It might happen we might recruit few of you as a skill consulting officers to the government in a couple of months down the line. And India had a vision, you must be Google it, India at rate 75. It's a vision of India. India got its independence in the year of 1947. But India at rate 75 says where India will land. That is the reason that 75 years the Amrita Mahotsav was celebrated. Where India will see by end of 2022. And Prime Ministers are initiating a lot of programs to boom up our economy. Skill is one of that. And in skill, construction, logistics, these are the booming sectors right now, and automobiles. So, what my observation for this supply chain management is, we are going to produce lot of skilled human resources for all logistics company, courier company, supply chain management. And like the Jan said, there are huge career opportunities are there. You need to understand what this business is all about, where I am going to fit it. If this skill gap is being filled in a particularly span of time, so I think we all will grow in a 2 times better. Thank you very much, friends. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your experience. Our next speaker will be Jaya Krishna Das. Let's all welcome him with a round of applause.
Professor Paul, my co-speakers on the night, and friends. I was a bit reluctant initially to come over here because of the term business, because I strictly belong to state government, where business sort of thing that I am dealing with is strictly not there. But when I heard of this particular Ashwamedh, I don't know how you coined this particular word, Ashwamedh, I felt excited. I will take you back a little bit more to the another culturally known aspect of ours, that is the Samudra Manthan, the churning of the seas. After the Samudra Manthan, you might have heard of the story of Samudra Manthan. After the Samudra Manthan, various things came out of that. The two most important things was poison and nectar. So there was a fight between the Devas and the Rakshasas. Before me there were three speakers, so you might be feeling bored, so I am starting with the story. So there was a fight between the Devas and the Rakshasas for the nectar. Now there was Narada, as you know, as he is always there, the troubleshooter of, and he came forward to give the solution. His solution was, there is a condition. As you know, in all our rituals, when we take prasadam, what we do our hands like this, and we take the prasad here on the right hand. So his condition was very interesting. He told, the prasadam will be given to you, but, there is a but, big but, you cannot bend your elbow and you have to take it. So that was the condition. The result, as you always know, the Devas zoned and the Rakshasas lost. Now how and why? That is a question. Please ponder over it. I think many of you might be knowing the story and might be knowing the answer. Can you raise some of you who know the story, and will you please raise your hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but not many. I think about 10. So lot many didn't know, do not know the answer. So please ponder over it. We will come back to it. I am thankful to Reena here because Swiggy stood up with us during the entire COVID period. Now the topic that you have given today, agility, vision and resilience in modern supply chain business. The three things, agility, vision and resilience. I will touch upon vision first and then we'll go to, see what I will be telling you is out of my pure personal experience. Nothing of the kind of things that you listen in your classes or in business seminars and all that. So I will be drawing from my own experiences and telling you the facts and what I have learned and how I have grown. I will tell you few experiences of mine. In fact, wherever I have been transferred to many places. I joined with Water Resources Department in the year 1983. Then I worked in various other departments, in national highways, in roads and buildings, then moved on to Panchayati Raj Department, then moved on to tourism department, then back again to works department, and now currently heading the Orissa Breeze and Construction Corporation. When I joined Orissa Breeze Construction and Corporation, it was in a very bad state. It was losing, there was all sorts of problems. So I was asked by the government to go and revive it and make it a vibrant institution. Now that apart, let me go back a little, a few experiences of mine. When I was put into works department, I joined there as a superintending engineer. When I joined that particular day, I had no seat. There was absolutely, because I joined, my transfer was as a vigilance officer of the works department. There was no such post earlier to that. There was no seat available. There was sort of no facilities there. I met my bosses and I told them. Then I moved here and there for 1 month without anything, without doing anything, without having a seat. Then suddenly, when after a few days, even I think more than a month, nearly 2 months, I came again to my secretary and told, sir, I am still trying to find my foothold here. That particular day, he had an opportunity of discussion with the chief secretary, and the chief secretary advised him that why works department is not having a PMU. It's such a big department, why they are not having a PMU? And after getting all this, when I met him, he immediately told me, why don't you start a PMU? Go and start a PMU. I thought, what is this? I have come as a vigilance person to do some kind of vigilance work. Then he's asking me to do a PMU. Then I thought, what is this PMU and how can I start it? And still they had not given me a place to sit. So wherever there was any of you might have gone there, I just found out a seat and started sitting. To your surprise, I sat with one of the stenos and started doing my work. And then when I thought about the PMU, what software they have developed, if at all anything, and I came to know that they have already developed a software called eNirman, and that was inaugurated by the Honorable CM some 2 years back. But in the meantime, the works department had forgotten that particular software. Even they had forgotten the password, everything. So my secretary told, go and talk to the UD people, the urban development people, and find out from there. I went there. Till that time, I didn't know that eNirman was developed by works department. I went to UD department, discussed with them with folded hands, give me something, tell me something, what is this eNirman and what is all this? So they started telling me about eNirman. Then I asked them, ये eNirman आपको कहाँ से मिला ये? To my surprise, they told we got it from works department only, and I had come from works department. So it was a big surprise for me. Then I came back, then worked on the software, then tried to see why it is not working, why people have forgotten this software, why they are not doing it. Then when I went into the different aspects of the software, what I found was they had made it so complex. Because the environment in a department, in a state government department, is that they really do toil very hard in the field, in everywhere. It is not that it might be you might be, for those who are outside the state government, they might be thinking that the people are lazy there, the people do not work, that kind of notions are there. But let me tell you, they really do work hard. But the help that they require actually do not come from the seniors or those who matter. So then I thought how to change this software, how to make it more convenient, more helpful. I worked on the software and removed all the complexities and make it very, very simple. Now, all those complexities, how I did it and what I did, that is a different aspect. I will not go into that because I have been given a very limited time also. But the point is that I made it very simple with only a few steps to be done by the juniors. In between, my secretary also changed. Then we had a discussion that what benefit we can get out of this software. Now the question is, our secretary, the works department secretary, all the departments, each of the departments of the government, they are assigned with a particular budget in a particular year with certain amounts, say 1,000 crores or 2,000 crores or few thousand crores. Now the secretary's responsibility is, the first responsibility, first and foremost responsibility is to spend the entire amount, isn't it? So, but how do we monitor that? Earlier there used to be 70%, 80% expenditure. So what we did is, we have, under the secretary, we had a few chief engineers. Then below that there is a down the grid, different designations are there. There are few schemes. So what we did initially is, we calculated what is the current efficiency of our engineers in delivering the budgeted amounts or the targeted amounts. At that particular point of time, when we calculated the delivery, the output of the entire team of engineers in works department was hardly between 30 to 40%. Which means if they are given 100 crores budget, they will be spending 30 crores at the end of the year. To be very in simple lines. So which simply means, in order to spend 1,000 crores, they have to be given 3,000 crores of work. So these are some simple things that we started doing it. Immediately we started moving and taking action to increase the volume of works from 1,000 to 3 times of whatever was their target. And the most important thing that we did also was the lowest level of engineer, that is the junior engineer who is the lowest level in the entire cadre. We empowered him. We told him that what he will do is, he is to interact with the executant, I mean the contractor who does the work. The person, the lowest engineer, the junior engineer, has to have a discussion with the executant, that is the contractor, and finalize with him in practically what will be his targeted expenditure during that particular year on actual basis. By taking all factors into account, there are multiple factors. There might be encroachments, there might be land acquisition problems, there might be so many other problems are there in the site. When we start a work, we do not plan so beautifully, unlike in the private sectors. So we do not plan. Forget about all these things. In state government, its planning is almost negligible, almost zero you can say. So what we started like this, that let us do this thing, that let there be a collaboration at the junior most level, because we need to understand that and we need to empower those people. So we started like that, and through that will be his target. The junior engineer has to have a target, and that target got accumulated, and finally will come to the target of the secretary or target of the department, which is say 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever crores. So that is how we built, and wherever there was some deficit, we increased the volume of works there and met the target in such a manner that at the end of the year, even if the efficiency is 30%, we will be able to get 1,000 crores or whatever is the target given by the finance department. And you will be surprised with this simple change. that particular year, our efficiency, the department's efficiency went beyond 90%, and in the period that I stayed there, it was always touching more than 95%. And let me tell you, that is a broader picture. Now let me come to my personal picture. Personally, as I said, I was not given a place to sit and this, that, and the department also, the works department also was not welcoming an engineer to sit with them, because I was the first engineer to go there and work with OS officers and all those clerical people and all those people in the department. They were thinking I am an alien who has come here and sitting among themselves. So it was kind of you can understand the situation, how you will be feeling. You are not given a seat, nobody is talking to you, nobody is giving files to you, nobody is cooperating. It's a completely adverse circumstances. In fact, my experience always have been like that. Whenever I have been transferred to a new place of posting, somehow or other, probably God wants that, I have faced that kind of situation everywhere almost. In Panchayat Raj also I faced, I will tell about that experience also. Let me complete this. How I solved that problem, because these may interest you. So this kind of non-conducive, this kind of adverse atmosphere, so I thought what is to be done. So पहले मैंने एक दोस्त बनाया. अब दोस्ती भी कैसा कि he was running here and there. I told him what is the problem. He told my secretary is asking for this, that, I am unable to do it. Then I told him, chalo, lao, I will help you and I will do it for you. So I started helping him, whatever was the requirement, and he was very happy. Then slowly I started putting my help to almost everyone sitting there. One after the other, I started helping them with whatever problems they used to have, maybe official, maybe financial, maybe medical, maybe anything. And because I have a variety of interests, also I am an engineer, because of these adverse circumstances, I am into homeopathy also. So that also started helping me. So if somebody is having some health problem, I started giving him some medicine and that fellow was cured. And so it happens, the things grow so much that I became totally indispensable in the department. So and that has happened everywhere with me. I am not giving credit to myself, but that is how I have worked and how I have tried to inspire into confidence into the whole area. And once you inspire confidence into the atmosphere or the surroundings that you are working with, automatically that will help you grow and that will help you remove all obstacles and fulfill all your visions. So, wherever I have worked and whatever I have worked, my vision has always been to help others. Only to help whoever is there in whichever circumstances, maybe in the family, in the office, if you are traveling on the road, if you are in the market or wherever you are. The vision has always been to help. Now please think over it. I will not ask you or I will not cross-question you what is your vision or what is your goal. There is also a difference between goal and vision. We will not go into all these details. Then let me, in the Panchayat Raj institution also DRDA, I joined as an executive engineer in DRDA Sundargarh. There also when I joined, the first welcome speech which happened in the department in that particular institution, my predecessor, in the welcome speech itself he told me, Mr. Das, you should not have come here, you should not have joined here. If possible, please go back as quickly as possible from DRDA. You are having experiences with Panchayat Raj department, so I am telling you my experience, sir. The reason As you know, DRDA or Panchayat Raj institution is mostly other people rather than the engineers. And the engineers who are there are junior engineers and assistant engineers, mostly the lower level of engineers. And all the executive engineers were manning the different DRDAs, the different district headquarters, were reduced to non-entities. There also, the same principle I adopted. I started helping all the junior engineers by going with them, helping them, and I developed a rapport with the district collector, and we had close discussions with various issues and how to solve them, and immediately got rewards for that. And I will tell you what happened. Sundargarh, I was posted in Sundargarh. Sundargarh earlier was a very dry place, the town itself. It had no gardens, it had no playgrounds, it had no place to go with the family. It had nothing of recreation time, any place. Then once sitting with the district collector, we were discussing how to bring in some kind of recreation into this town. Even the Panchayat, even the DRDA, the conference hall was in a very bad shape. So immediately we thought, let's do something. Now from where we will get funds? We immediately started having visions, because it's very easy to set goals and have lot of visionary things. We wanted, we will be having a kind of a assembly hall kind of thing there to have our conference, then having some gardens, some playgrounds, this, that. Immediately we started. Then from where the funds will come? Because normally the state government do not, at that time, there was funds crunch. Funds were not flowing that easily. So then we thought upon the contingencies which used to accrue from the different DRDA, that funds that received from the Government of India. There's a contingency which accrues every year. So there was an accumulation of few crores. So the collector was daring enough to say that, well, we will utilize these contingencies, and he gave me the go-ahead. Then immediately we worked upon it, and there was a lot of resistances, in the sense the area that was acquired had a lot of encroachments. There was a big problem, in the sense when the encroachments were removed, collector was standing there, and there was kind of a law and order situation. I will not go into the details of the law and order situation, but it's a very interesting story itself, because we faced the music of the repercussion of all that law and order situation for almost 15 years. We faced all kinds of inquiries because of that law and order situation. Inquiries from the vigilance, inquiries from the Panchayat Raj head office, inquiries from Government of India, inquiries by a commission. So many inquiries happened. But all the inquiries, all those people who have come and shown our work, all have gone and praised. The Vigilance Department could not find a single fault. The entire Government of India team could not find a single fault. Rather, they told, how could you do this? How could you think of doing this kind of works? We developed a theme park, a tribal theme park. We developed a Jubilee Park. We created an assembly-like building in Sundargarh district. So this I am telling you because you should have a vision, you should have goals. Everybody has visions and goals and all this, that. But to carry out those things, as my previous speakers were also pointing out, the execution process, the intent behind that has to be some kind of sacrifice, has to be there. That is why I was very excited when I heard of this particular name you are using for this event, Ashwamedh. I don't know why and how, sir, you coined this particular word, Ashwamedh.
Historically, our students have coined this as their issue.
Okay, so historically it is being used, and I will sometime you can just analyze, just brainstorm over this particular word Ashwamedh and how it's helpful for this kind of events. These are all various things. Wherever, let me tell you, wherever I have worked, you have to have. That is my experience, or that is my learning, so to say. You have to sacrifice. You have to be helpful. And in spite of all adverse circumstances, you should not look into the profit mentality always. That will automatically come. I'm not a businessman, but wherever what I have found and what I have seen, if you are really sacrificing, if you are really dedicated, if you are really helpful to the others, the surroundings, or whatever you are doing, then definitely you are going to be a successful person. And now let us come to this other two words, agility and resilience. Now, who is agile in this particular animal world? You know, the most agile animal is, I think I'm within the time? Okay. So, who is agile? The most agile animal is from the cat family. The cat, the tiger, they are the most agile. If you really observe them, or if you observe, I have learned a lot during my childhood days, and when I was in the colleges, from the film of Jackie Chan, and I used to love Muhammad Ali. It's not because of what they wear, but I have learned the way they act. Muhammad Ali, if you have the famous boxer, what he used to do, he was very agile, but what he used to do, when the initial stage of the fight, he will go back. He will keep going back and observing his opponent. Jackie Chan, what he used to do, if some person is coming from the backside also, he used to know that somebody is coming. If a flying instrument is coming, something to hit you, he is able to know it. How they are able to do it? And if you mark a cat, you might not have the opportunity of looking at a tiger in the forest, but everybody has an opportunity to look at the cat in your own environment. If you really look carefully at the cat, you will really know what is agility. Behind agility, or to be really agile, you have to have, that is my experience, you have to have complete silence inside you. Spotless, complete silence. If you are completely silent inside, then only you can be really agile. If you have any disturbance inside, because the inside disturbance, whatever it is, you might be having some family disturbance, you might be having your love disturbance, or you might be having any kind of disturbance. If you are disturbed inside, you can never be agile. That is my experience. Please think over it. Then resilience. Resilience it goes with this itself, agility itself. If you are really agile, you will automatically become resilient or flexible, whatever you call it. In the other term is flexibility. Flexibility is both sides. Resilience is only when you are in the adverse situations. There, the word resilience comes. You are resilient enough. So, adverse circumstances, or it's a favorable circumstances, even in the favorable, your attitude, your equanimity, if you are really equanimous in the favorable circumstances, then only you can be equanimous in the adverse circumstances. Please try to remember this, and please try to whenever you will pass through such situations, you will know that if you are really equanimous in both the circumstances, then only you will be able to overcome the adverse circumstances more easily. Otherwise, you will fall flat. Otherwise, you will feel disturbed and completely broken. Now let us, I think I have only 1 minute, so let us come back to the story that I started with. Already 10 persons know it, so can someone tell how it happened? The answer to that, those who know. Yes, you can tell what is it was held, how they took the nectar. Yeah, I can hear. Please give the mic there.
Hello sir, thank you for the insightful session. I am Ashwamedh from XIB BM batch of 22-24. So all the devas, they stood in a circle and started feeding their labor.
Pardon?
They stood in a circle and each one started feeding their labor.
Ah.
So in this way they were.
Yes. So the purpose, you are right. So what the devas did, the Rakshasas, they started taking themselves because they were thinking about themselves. So if you are unable to bend your elbow, you never can take it however much you try or whatever effort you make. The only thing you will be successful is you give it to your friend, because I can give it to Reena and Reena can give it back to me. So that is how it is possible, and that is how the devas did. So that is what also we should be in life. Thanks.
Thank you everyone. It was a very enriching and to know about your experiences. Now the stage is open for Q&A. I would like the students to raise their hand and also specify the speaker to whom the question is directed. Any questions?
Hello. Good morning, sir. I am Andresh Patnaik from XIB PM batch of 22-24, and thank you for the wonderful session, sir. And my question is to Mr. My question is to Mr. Sir, the question is how is procurement strategies different for the telecom infrastructure and for the smartphone assemblies? So, sir, can you please explain the difference?
In terms of procurement strategy, look, you need to understand one is procurement strategy, another is sourcing strategy. Okay. Hope you know the difference between procurement and sourcing.
No, sir.
No. Okay. So I'll just touch upon the sourcing strategy, how it is different from a SIM card assembly versus an infrastructure company. In infrastructure, because your first time right, you have to put all might behind that concept. Because you are creating an infrastructure which you will be using to give service to others. And these infrastructures are capital intensive. So you need to have more money infused to create those infrastructure in anticipation of a service. Whereas in an assembly line, what happens? Because your assembly line is controlled, if you commit a mistake on the conveyor, you have a chance to correct it. But in an infrastructure where you are giving a service, if you create a wrong infrastructure, you lose money. Here you have an opportunity to, rework your mistakes right at the incoming quality control, or on the conveyor, or at the finished goods, because pre-dispatch inspection also you can do. So the whole objective of procurement strategy should be, how do I create, when it's an infrastructure, your shelf life of the infrastructure needs to be at least 10 to 15 years. minimum 15 to 20 years, right? So, what kind of supplier relationship you need to build so that you keep on getting the support from that guy, and a different kind of contracting happens altogether when it is to do with telecom infra versus a mobile phone, right? Mobile phone can be very tactical. Today I am with one supplier. Now what is so critical in a mobile phone is the chipset. It is the mother of everything. I will create a relationship with the chipset vendor. I may not be creating that kind of relationship with the register vendor or an inductor vendor. Right? So that's the overall difference. Otherwise, there are parameters on which we do the changes. And you have tolerances which you keep on shifting on each parameter for each category. Hope I could answer some of your.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ramsey from the BES batch of 2024. I want to direct my question towards Reena ma'am. Ma'am, what are your thoughts or opinions with regards to feasibility and sustainability on the interstate food delivery model of one of your immediate competitors? And are there any plans on implementation of similar kind in your organization?
I think it's already started with one of the players. I don't think right now we have seen that as one of the biggest problems to solve. So while that is one of the goodie to add in the bag, but that is not something right now we are focusing on. No, it started with Zomato, but not, so basically the concept of interstate has started with those brands whose existence is there in the city. Okay, like say, I think that one of the advertising Lucknow Kebab, which was making round, is, within the radius or only the delivery radius which is set. But scaling up, there are small players who are already in the market, who are doing this, especially in terms of sweets, right? So if it has to scale up, probably, acquisition or looking at the model more deeper is what it is. But right now, I don't think that's a demand shaping thing which we are focusing on. Thank you.
Madam, just for your information, thanks to our mess food, which is typical to any hostel, the Swiggy is very popular amongst our students.
Anyone else?
Good afternoon to all the dignitaries and my fellow colleagues. Thank you for such an enriching deliberation. This is Ojeshwari Panda of the exact BPM batch of 2022-24. So my question is for Prabhatkar sir. Sir, how can we as MBA graduates help India transcend boundaries of a developing nation to a developed nation with respect to skill development and rural development?
Sorry, could you please repeat?
Sir, my question is how we as MBA graduates could help India transcend its boundaries from a developing nation to a developed nation with respect to skill development and rural development.
Okay. As I said, India is the youngest populated country, and we have got a huge chunk of population who needs a job. The only difference is they do not know what kind of job fits to them. So my answer will be, in India, if you look at the skill gap, there are a lot of sectors and there are millions of jobs are there. But there are people who needs a job. What we need to do, we need to bridge the gap. So we need to identify what are the skill sets are required by the employer and build up those skill sets within the students so that they can get a job. Is it? Am I answerable?
Yes, sir, that's very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may add to this discussion, see, when you have this numbers thrown in that, okay, India is the youngest population or the potential that we have, you have to be a little careful. 30 years back, maybe 5 years back, our steel production, Indian steel production and Chinese steel production, China was adding capacity of our annual production capacity. Please think of the scale of difference. China was adding annually, which is our total production. But we are happy that, okay, our per capita is only 30 gram of steel per person, so we have so much potential to grow. If we are into that frame of mind, we are not able to catch up Chinese steel making capability or their abilities in other fields. For example, China already have their bullet train, designed by them, already running, they are selling the technology to others. We are still trying to find out with the help of Japan or somebody else. So when you talk of potential and look at the positive side of it, you also have to take it a little bit on the pinch of salt.
So good afternoon everyone. My name is Tanmay and I am from XIMB BM batch of 22-24 and my question is for Jay Krishnan Das sir. So construction is the second most contributing factor to pollution, dust pollution that is. So what are some of the new technologies that are helping reducing this pollution?
What is your question regarding construction pollution? How to reduce it?
No sir, the new technologies that are being implemented to reduce it.
Oh, that we are using to reduce the construction pollution.
Yes, sir.
New technologies.
Yes sir.
See, construction pollution, if you look into it, there are different kinds of construction pollution. Like, say for example, we are constructing a building. So during the building construction, the crushers are there, then the batching plants are there, then there are movement of tractors, there are movement of vehicles, the carrying of materials, all these things are there. So, if you ask me what are the modern technologies, there are conventional ways of protecting all these things from pollution. Like for example, when the transportation happens, it is to be made weight or covered. All these things are conventional things that we do to reduce the pollution. But for some kind of a modern technology to be used, I doubt if some kind of a modern technology is there to reduce this kind of pollution. Only thing that we do is we have to see where the pollution is happening. For example, the dust is there or some kind of a gas is coming out. So, for example, the bitumen work in the roads, there the fumes come out. So, all these things, in order to reduce the pollution, some chemicals are there, even the plastics that are being used to add to the bitumen, that also reduces a little bit of pollution. So, these are various ways, there are a lot of research required in fact to how to mitigate this pollution or how to reduce the pollution. But the conventionally also, if we follow the conventional steps also, a lot of pollution can be reduced.
So if I may add, see again, you have to classify the type of pollution. If it is a noise pollution, so there are insulated covers available. If the project site or the job permits, you can insulate, cover it through an insulated cover so that the noise is diminished. Or do the work at a time when the people are not disturbed, no, daytime versus nighttime. There are techniques for dust suppression or gas cleaning and separations. They are locally used. Suppose this is a dusty environment, no? So you can have spraying of chemicals or foams so that the dust emanation is minimized to the extent. But not every project site possibly uses it.
Good afternoon everyone. I am Diksha Sharma from XIMB BM batch of 22-24. So my question is to Reena ma'am. So ma'am, basically there has been a significant surge in the Q-commerce sector in India. So do you think this is a bubble due to the pandemic, or like do you see this as a significant change in the buying pattern of Indian mass?
Could you repeat your job?
Q-commerce.
I don't think that's a bubble. I'm sure if there is, start point for the disruption to happen, right? And the entry point for the QCOM has started, and I think it hasn't made the way that, you know, the expansion did not happen the way it has to, but the opportunity or the market is open, is what I would say. It's just not the bubble for sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Those who are asking questions on COVID-19 and similar disruptions, you please also keep in mind that possibly this is one of a lifetime of disruption or pandemic. I mean, these kind of disruptions come very rarely, 30, 40, 50 years. While this COVID-19 has taught us many new things, forced us to change processes, adopt technologies, but that may not happen, let's say, another 30, 40 years, that is your work life. So you have to take both ways. Well, it's not to be too paranoid about COVID-19, but obviously the technologies change and you have to adopt newer processes and technologies.
And also to add to that, this is a scenario which was there in front of us, and all of us tried to act and prevent in the best way possible, right? So this would stand as a legacy, or like say when there is a disaster which happens, there is a plan, keeping an extra scale of next thing to be coming, and you know, we plan. So I think COVID is like that ultimate thing which happened, like we have taken all the precautions too, but at the same time, it has changed, it has brought the change, it has created a bubble. But how big is it? Is it going to fall back because the moment the entire noise gets down? Is what, you know, time says, because we already started adopting a lot of new things. Be it the work culture, be it the infra, like today no offices are widely open, or no employees is traveling too much unless the job demands. So it started, where it goes is, you know, a way ahead how we scale up, but that's how, as Sir said, it's one step ahead.
We have time for two more questions. Akshay?
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Kundan Lekha and I am from XIMB BM batch of 2224. My question is to Partharoy, sir. Sir, whenever agility is coined, stability is also the key aspect what we seek for. So for business fundamentally, how the ground implementation works around stability, keeping expansion or agility into mind?
I think I also touched upon a point by the name governance. Okay? So I think this layer keeps on ensuring your repeated performance to the excellence what you have done. Agility is to, if you see the dictionary meaning, it says is the ease by which you can adopt a change. Correct? Now, to sustain the change, you need to have a measurement mechanism, and that measurement is partially through automation, whatever you can automate which is not people dependent, and partially through a governance mechanism through which you do repeated assurance audits. Right?
Thank you, sir.
Last question.
I think the confusion that you have, maybe agility and stability are two different concepts. Agility doesn't mean that you have to move unnecessarily. In a stable environment, you need not change at all. But unfortunately, the rate of change is a little higher. It's going to be increasing every day, every year. So you have to be carefully balancing between agility and stability. You should not disturb a stable environment.
Good afternoon. My name is Ishante from XIMB BM batch of 2224. My question is open to the dice. Sir, traceability is very important concept in modern supply chain business to gain agility and resilience in it. So I want to know how the traceability can be incurred in the traditional Indian agricultural supply chain with not so much technology driven sector. Yeah, traceability.
Thanks for raising this question. I think I am the newest entrant to learn something about this macro, which is just about 2 weeks old. And just to give you a small story, I happened to go to a sugar mill where they have an integrated ethanol plant as well as a power plant. And the whole objective was to baseline the spend management of the whole setup. And I started looking at, if at all, if you see, my investment is too big. I can't keep on changing my machinery now and then. So first I started looking, what is my input and what is the rated output? Now what is the input? Sugarcane. What is the output? Then I kept on Googling and I found Government of India has mandated if the recovery percentage of sugar is just 10.5 or 11, it's good to go. So people actually ensure only 11, right? And then I started talking to the supply chain or the procurement, sugar procurement guy. This year, their target is 1,80,000 quintals a day crushing. Cutting to crushing. The whole area is about 70,000 hectares on which the farmers are supposed to grow. You see the catch-22 situation. Now, the sugar mill is mandated to buy from the farmers, but the farmers are not mandated to sell it to the sugar plant. Right? So what do they do? There is a whole social network what they have created. They help them with informations. They had created WhatsApp groups on village level, taluka level WhatsApp groups, and where they keep on giving information, advance alerts. It was so coincidental when I reached there, I think I was there on 15th of September, and there was a huge rain and flood. Half of the sugarcane started swaying and coming down. So immediately they started giving information, boss, now you have to cross the sugarcane like this so that it doesn't fall. They also ensure what kind of seeding has to be done. Now, then from Lakhimpur Kheri, I traveled to Lucknow and I wanted to meet the gentleman who is actually creating a software traceability tool. Very, very interesting. So he is trying to ensure, because my problem statement was, how do I know whatever seed I have given it to this farmer comes to my ready crushing zone? So he is creating those tools. The tool is already actually working in few sugar plants. We're just tweaking it. So there are operational tools which can help you do this agro traceability, because the shelf life, once you cut to crush, if your time is about more than 48 hours, sugar inversion happens. That means sugar starts breaking into fructose and sucrose, which you can't reverse it. So what happens in turn? Your recovery percentage of 11% starts reducing. So your output is tanked. Right? So they need to have traceability to ensure the guy who has put in their godown. Now the sugar mill has godowns in every, I think, a radius of every 5-10 kilometers. So the moment it comes, what is the time required to bring it to the crusher floor? So the whole, because the shelf life of this agro product is so challenging, it's an absolutely different ballgame. I have worked on a small project on animal feed. You must be knowing, I think it's a Calcutta-based company by the name Anmol Feeds, right? Who give feeds for buffaloes and cows. And so I asked the gentleman, the owner, what is your aspiration? He says, boss, I want to be Amazon of animals. Very clear. I told, what does it mean? He says, I need to make feed for, I am already making feed for cats, I am making for cattle, I am making for fish, and then I started understanding what these guys are doing. And he told, now you have to help me, because he was at a 400 crores turnover, he wanted to scale to 1,000 crores in 4 years. So I was deputed to do the spend management analysis. And while doing the spend management, I saw the corn which comes, which is the main ingredient of a cattle feed, right? Shelf life of the corn is 4 months, after which it starts, or during the period itself, starts reducing the moisture content to about 3%, right? But the output product, what he makes, the shelf life is 15 days. Now, can you imagine what is the constraint getting happens? You are not able to create a finished good. if you are not able to plan your production, your power consumption goes like 6. You may be producing those, your feed at the peak power tariff period, and that's what exactly they were doing. And then I went to the scientist. You see why traceability is required. Scientist, I don't know what is that you are actually adding, that your raw material shelf life is reducing from 4 months to 15 days. You should add some stabilizers, no? Like you have milk. My whole concept was, if you take milk, shelf life is 1 day or 2 days. If you take powdered milk, it is 9 months. You are adding stabilizers, no? So I think overall, once you look at any problem from a supply chain perspective, start creating analogous rings. Don't just go around that problem. Think in that scenario, how it is getting solved. I am not an agro-technologist, but I can always question the obvious. Why this is happening? So on your first question in terms of traceability, yes, there are softwares which are already working, homegrown softwares. Sugar mills have started doing it. I know Balram Sugar has done it. Now I think some other, I don't want to name because I'm bound under NDA. So others are also going to do it, but we are just tweaking that software to ensure the traceability from field sowing to crushing. I need to have traceability. After that, tracing is possible. Once it's in your plant, then you can do it.
I think just to add to what Sir said, I maybe don't want to name, I don't know if the name matches. Yes, the tracing has started very digitally and a lot of farmers got advantage. You guys might have heard about this company called Planted, right? So from soil testing to identifying the right seed, understanding the growth of the plant through the app, okay? And the growth of the plant and distribution channels for the plantation that you're doing. It is, and Ugao is doing. I think there are a handful of softwares universally which has come in terms of not just solving one problem, putting from the testing phase to the end distribution stage. We are trying to connect the channels. So the digitization has grown that.
Just adding on to Reena, I think these softwares are specific to the crop. This is not fit for all softwares because every crop has a different cycle and behavior, right? So not only that, when the crop is grown, there are different, variability pushed by the social and the government sector for protection of farmers. So you need to add those, you need to govern those, there are a number of things. So this software, what you're talking, they are yet to implement. It's on not even POC, and they have seen demonstrations happen. But I think end of the day, if you want to go to mustard, you may need something else.
Thank you so much.
We thank the whole panel for taking time out and addressing our students. Now we would like to call upon our moderator for the event, Professor Arun Paul, to present his concluding remarks and deliver the vote of thanks.
Well, we are almost at the time, 1:30, and 1:15 was the target that we set to ourselves. So I have nothing much on the concluding remark, except that I have a variety of speakers, and supply chain will come to you in the classroom. But the life experiences that you have heard is very difficult. So I hope you have learned from those life experiences and will apply them in your personal as well as professional life as you progress in there. Now, coming to the vote of thanks, obviously starts with the esteemed speakers for they have taken the trouble to come all the way to Bhubaneswar and taken their time out to talk to the students. The X Ops, who is holding the first half of this show. There are obviously elements have started and the effort has started 2, 3, 4 months back. And I'm sure X Ops will learn from their experience and mistakes and don't mix up the sequence of speakers. Well, there's a reason for that, of course. The PPT was already loaded. The faculty colleagues who are still around, thank you very much. The staff members who are working overtime to this Business Excellence Summit all over the place, thank you very much so that it could run smoothly. Finally, the students, thank you so much. And I hope many of you will come to the elective, that is supply chain management. where we'll discuss many more theoretical and practical aspects of it. Thank you very much.
As a token of our gratitude, we would like to honor our esteemed guests with a memento. First, I request Jaya Krishna Das sir to accept the memento. Thank you, sir. Next, I request Pravadkar sir to accept the memento. Thank you, sir. Next, I request Pravadkar sir to accept our memento. Thank you, sir. Reena ma'am, please accept our memento. Would also request our students to present a token of gratitude for Paul sir for moderating our event. Now, we would like to call upon our coordinator of Operations Committee of XIMB, Piyush Kumar Naik, to deliver the final vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I feel incredibly honored and privileged to have been allowed to extend a vote of thanks on this auspicious occasion. First of all, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the speakers for taking out time from their busy schedule and giving us such a beautiful memory in our business conclave. I thank our Professor Arun Kumar Paul sir for taking the initiative to serve as our events moderator. Also, I want to thank students for keeping the session interactive and engaging. Finally, I would want to express my sincere gratitude to the BES team for giving us such a flawless platform, Career Advisory Services, Student Executive Council, Team Excellence for covering the event, and Team Illuminatics for their media assistance throughout the event. I thank everyone for being with us this morning. It's been a great pleasure. Any parting comments, Savannah? Any parting comments? If you want to say a word. I would like to request the students to remain seated as our guests take their leave.
So my parting comment is I'm very optimistic. See you soon. So be prepared. I think it's the best time you got to learn, to dedicate yourself to that. And yeah, see you soon.
Thank you, ma'am.
My parting comment will be that if we really have learned from COVID, let me tell you, during the COVID days, the entire COVID days, I have never stopped going to the office, I have never stopped work. And what we have really learned is, let us help Mother Nature. Because that is the real thing. You have to go back. You have to go back to the roots. So let's honor Mother Nature and let's go back to the roots.
I'd like to request the students to remain seated as our speakers take the lead.
Thank you all.
The students can take their leave in the orderly manner, please.
जो